biggest takeaway that I have from that particular episode and just Andrew in general is, it's the name of his company, delivering value. It's when does the when you're thinking about activation moments, think about when the user gets value and use that to define your activation moment as opposed to when you, as the company, get value.
Hey everyone, thank you for another season of the Behind the Experience. It is 2023 right now, and my co-host here, Lyla, and I are just going to be reviewing some of our favorite episodes from 2022. Lyla, how are you doing?
Right.
How's your 2023 so far?
Oh my gosh. Coming in hot, cold and hot at the same time. Looking at a lot of snow right now up in my corner of the world, but also feeling very busy and feeling very hot in the product world. We're working on a lot of stuff over here at AppQs and been typing like the cat at the keyboard, trying to get stuff out. So it's been really fun in the start of the year. How about you, Ramli? Did you have a good holiday? How's your 2023
had a great holiday. Yeah, I reviewed my 2022 reflection, and it's been a great year. A lot of stuff for AppQs, a lot of stuff. Personally, I became a father for the first time, so
that's right. Congrats.
Yeah, so
Papa Rams.
Papa Rams. Yeah, it's a good way to put it. I love it. But I'm also excited for you. You moved over to product management function now at AppQs, so you're gonna be actually creating some new features, which I don't know if we can share any, but I'm super excited for you, what you're doing there.
Yeah, if any AppQs customers are listening to this, and I hope they are, or watching, definitely contact me, Lyla at appqs.com. I'm working on some new stuff related to visualizing, connecting experiences, making sure that they all are working together and you know what's going on. So that's my little sneak peek. I did an eyebrow bounce for those who are on on audio. So please definitely contact me, LinkedIn, whatever, and let me know if you're an AppQs customer and you'd like to jump on the phone with me and Ale, the person who's been doing the actual designs, and see what we've been working on.
I'll have that email in the show notes for people to just click it. But today we're going to be recapping some of our favorite episodes, some of the stuff that we really, really found and memorable for us. For people who are joining the show for the first time, tuning in, I think this is a good place to just recap where some of our best episodes so far. So let's kick things off. Lyla, what's one episode that you found really, really great and really memorable?
Yeah, I mean, of course, so hard to choose. I mean, so hard to choose, especially since the majority of the episodes that I'm on are our customers. So I love every single one of y'all, perfect little snowflakes, and I love all of the things that we talked about. But just there are a few that really resonated to me and had a really good time. And I thought that there was a lot of good information shared. One of those that stuck out to me was our friend Alessio joining us from Hotjar. Hotjar is an awesome user feedback tool, and they use a variety of ways to onboard new users. And they have like a very common onboarding new user activation problem, which is they have a JavaScript piece to install. And so that's kind of a big hurdle in order to get the value out of the product. AppQ says the same thing. So it's a little bit close to home. Maybe I'm a little biased as to why I picked this particular one as one of my tops, but I think Alessio does a really nice job of walking through their story, how they were measuring that, the iterations, and his product design perspective is a really nice one to have in this particular example. So I definitely recommend people digging into that. You'll see some good examples from Alessio, and then also like we have some good discussions about indicators and how those can drive user engagement. So definitely one of my faves, Hotjar and Alessio. Thank you so much for joining us for that one. That was a good time. Ramli, what about you?
I mean, I really enjoy that one as well. I would say, I think the other thing that Hotjar does well is like if I remember correctly, they would figure out exactly what platform your website is on. So it's like WordPress or Webflow or something else and get you the instructions specifically to your platform. I think that's a challenge. You're right. People face is like sometimes you have to figure that out really, really well as well.
Yeah. And the other thing that they have a great example of is jobs to be done, right? They ask a jobs to be done question, like, what are you here to do? And they have really good examples of like UX writing and visual screens for setting that up. They are using like a full built out screen for that example. You can easily do that in AppQues as well and like validate and test, which I think they talked about doing. So if I get it correctly. But yeah, I really enjoyed all of their kind of customization and how they made it a very personalized onboarding experience.
Talking about customization and jobs to be done, I think another one of my really favorite ones is with Wistia. I think we both are big fans of Andrew Capland in the work he's done there. One thing they did really well in his work was around trying to understand why people are signing up for Wistia. He talked about Full Story Friday and making sure that they're observing where things can break down and using that to figure out the goals of people signing up and creating an experience that is segmented and personalized for each of those goals. We've both talked about how I believe your word is the holy grail of onboarding is segmented, personalized experience, and we look up to what he's done there, and I know he's done his work at PostScript as well, and now he's doing his own thing with delivering value. But I think that's another good one that showcases jobs to be done really, really well for that.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew is just, he's one of the best. Big fan. And I think the biggest takeaway that I have from that particular episode and just Andrew in general is, I mean, it's the name of his company, delivering value. It's when does like when you're thinking about activation moments, think about when the user gets value and use that to define your activation moment as opposed to when you as the company get value. So he has a lot of examples for that. And, just one that we talk a lot about it because ever since that episode, I was so keyed into that. And we talk a lot about it in other episodes as well. But it's really interesting because it's often a little bit further down the journey than you would expect. It's not necessarily when they do a first action. It's more when something comes back and they see the value out of the platform. So highly recommend tuning in and getting your hands on Andrew's content for helpful tips like that. Really helps you orient your thinking in the right way.
In the second favorite episode, what is your, and not necessarily favorite because that's not fair because it's like trying to pick out which one's your favorite child.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
What is your next most memorable one that you like? Oh, that's a cool one. This people should check out for sure.
Well, of course, I'm going to pick another AppQ's customer, Kris Chichak, over at Thinkific. And I believe we are also Thinkific customers now, Ramli,
Yes,
correct?
we are. Yes.
Nice. Yeah. So love it when it all comes together. But they had another segmented jobs to be done example, which just falling in love with day by day. And we're using checklists for that as well. So they were using checklists within AppQs and then kind of ended up building those out in their actual app to mimic that. And we have another example that I'll talk about later with someone who did that as well. So loving the pattern that I'm seeing between all of these examples where they're all AppQs customers, they're all using AppQs in different ways. And a lot of it is to validate and iterate on ways that they think the customer experience will be improved. And these are like product designers, customer marketing people. They're like, oh, I have this idea. I'm going to try it out and get it validated with AppQs. I'm going to show that it works. And then I'm going to go back to my teams and say, hey, we can do this like as a full feature as well. I love seeing that. I think it's like a really not unique use case for AppQs, but an exciting one that is a little bit unsung because you can also just leave them up full time. But if you have the resources to have product designers go in and make your flows into full-fledged features and products, well, that's really freaking cool. So totally. I really liked seeing that at Thinkific as well.
The other thing that I really like what they done really well is when we think about onboarding, we often think of it as just product stuff, but they have a lot of content that guides how, what they do is they help people create courses and sell it, but like, who is your ideal student profile? And they have a content for that. Like, how do you create your first lesson? So I think often the friction is not inside the product itself, but it's helping people set up their something outside of the product, could be potentially, and they've provided guides and resources there really, really well. So I think that's a good way of using content and marketing to help onboard. It's not just a product thing. I know, Lila, you're in the product team now, but you have your
I've
heart in marketing.
completely
So I feel like
forgotten about marketing now.
your heart is still marketing. I believe you'll come back to
Yes.
the marketing side eventually, or mash the two, product and marketing together one day.
Yes. I mean, I believe that like what we build at AppQs is an automation tool in many ways, right? And a lot of that is automated delivering of content, which is what marketers do in many ways. And that's a great call out with Thinkific and their content, supported onboarding. At Litmus, we saw a ton when I was running onboarding there. We saw a ton of improvement whenever we put the right relevant content in front of the user at the right times that was related to the feature, but it wasn't like, here is a blog post on how to use feature. It was like, here's a blog post explaining, and I'm not just doing the features versus benefits thing. It's more like the context with actual examples of it and how it's beneficial, rather than just like rewording features as benefits. Because I think we did that for a little while in B2B SaaS, and that's not so much. That's not it.
That's true. That makes a ton of sense. It's my turn to share one of my memorable
Your
one.
turn now.
In terms of another memorable one, I would say it's Trainual with Taylor. I really like his work. I think one of the things that really stood out for me, I remember him telling a story of how in the beginning when they created their onboarding for Trainual, they did it like a 14-step product tour, and like, their target audience is busy. They want to be hands-on. And their experience with that is actually totally bombed. And they switched totally to like using hotspots and more subtle videos, showing videos through hotspots and making it more contextual. It actually improved their experience. And there's definitely that tension between like very hands-on, in your face onboarding to more suggested and more subtle onboarding, and totally understanding who your audience is and finding the balance, experimenting with the two is super important. So I enjoyed that one with Trainual. That was a good insight that I still share with other people as examples of experimenting and finding that balance with more in your face and more subtle onboarding.
Yeah, that's a great example. I love Taylor and Trainual. I'm a little bit obsessed. I like their marketing. Well, especially they have a special place in my heart because they're a tool focused on SMB, mid-market business owners, small business owners, HR people. That's a group I love working with. And there's a lot of fun things that you can do in that messaging there because there's a lot of active users going into your product. And Trainual's launched a bunch of cool things outside of their product as well, like some actual hardware devices, like Trainual tags, and all these cool things. Look up Trainual; it's a great, a great product. And I agree. One of the things that I noticed that was really cool in that episode was their combination of like using a banner and hotspots. Exactly what you said, Ramli, like the in-your-face kind of onboarding versus more like passive. I usually call it like active, passive, or embedded. And I talk a little bit about those different experience types at AWQs and like knowing which user segments kind of fit into those groups and who wants to be bothered and who doesn't. So yeah, love that episode. Highly recommend digging into that one and getting to know what the folks at Trainual are doing because they've got a lot. They've got a lot that's going on, and they're good at it. They're good at it.
Awesome. Well, totally agree with that. It's your turn. For final one, what's your third memorable episode that people should check out of Behind the Experience?
Okay, well, since you sold Trainual from me, just kidding. Just kidding. No, definitely AWeber hits very memorable for me. I love talking to Dan Hanawalt over there. He has been a long time product person at AWeber, and I've known about AWeber for ages, being an email person, and they knowing about their slide in their old office was a thing I'm obsessed with. They used to have a slide in their office.
What?
I'll always remember that about them. But I thought it was really cool. Dan's perspective. Again, this is another group that was using AppQ's checklist to validate building an in-house checklist and using those learnings. And I just really liked Dan's approach. Again, we're talking to another designer rather than like a marketing person. So it was really interesting how Dan was thinking about like the activation, the new user success metrics, and kind of digging into those areas and using app queues to validate as they go. Also, like kind of peppering in app queues along with their other baked in onboarding flows. And that's something I'm really excited to see more of, is like app queues assisting with, more engineered onboarding as well. So I love talking to Dan. He's got a great head on his shoulders about onboarding and like what actually makes people, I think, want to go through a checklist or get into the next step.
Totally. I think that's another great example of how they segmented and personalized those checklists. If I recall, those checklists were it changes the list changes based on the goals of the user. So I'm like, wow, like talk about really personalizing that experience. It's not just like, oh, add your profile, send your first email, do this based on your goal, whether it's like making more money with email or growing your list or doing something else. They would give you a checklist that's really personalized to that goal, and it even reorders the list based on like, okay, if you're trying to make grow your list, you should focus first on getting a pop-up on your page versus if you're trying to make money, it's like, oh, how to create offers and things like that. So I think that's another really great example of personalizing segmentation.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things that I think when I can't remember, it was one of these three that I have named that was asking, I think it might have been Hotjar, but I could be wrong. I was asking the question before having any segmentation, like anything actually set up after the journey, which is something I always say don't do, but they actually saw a ton of improvement from that. So don't listen to me. Listen to these people. They know what they're doing. And that was a great learning to have. And I think that, Dan said something during that episode that was like, you're not necessarily your target users. Like, you're not the same as your audience. So just getting to know how they work and what they're interested in is a huge plus.
I totally agree
yourself
with that.
out of it.
Yeah, totally true. Well, it's my
All right,
turn.
Is your turn? Yeah. Is this the last one?
Last memorable one.
Yeah.
All right. So I would say it is PandaDoc. I remember when we talked to Eugenia, it was all about templates. I think that's a big thing that has been popping up more and more. How to accelerate people and give them a cheat code or a shortcut to experiencing the product's value. And templates is one of them, and they have a bunch of templates for the particular product. So I believe it's something that we've been thinking a lot about around like using templates for people who are signing up. I'm not sure if that's in the roadmap, but that's for people to check out for sure. I think there's some importance and value to using templates that gets people to experience the product's value quicker than rather than later.
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing a wave of templatization across the product-led world, and it's not easy. This is definitely something that you have to spend some engineering effort on. You have to just decide whether it's like what is actually a good template. So this is not one of those projects that you can sort of spin up, but the value that you get out of it seemingly is exponential. Andrew, our friend Andrew Capland, he's a big promoter of templates and stuff. I definitely check out some of his content around that, giving some examples. I'm trying to think of other good examples of folks who have scaled with templates like Canva, obviously, the Miroverse, like those are some good ones. And PandaDoc has a great example of how you can kind of come in and then select what you want to do, and then also select from all their templates. And what better than a doc product, like to have templates, right? If you're any kind of product where people are composing something, heck yeah, throw those templates in there. We are working on those at AppQ's for sure. We have templates now, but they're just buried, they're not as easily findable. So that's the other thing, that if you build templates, make them easy to find.
Yeah, that's totally true. Make it right at the forefront. Well, those are our 3 favorites. Are there ones that, if you could make a magic wand, you can get them on the show? Which kind of brands or companies would you want to bring on the show? I already have ones that we have scheduled, like for people to get them excited. We have Vidyard coming up. Hopefully we can get somebody from Litmus and Zapier. But like, if you can make a watch, who would you like to appear on the show? Which brands or companies would you like, Lyla?
Well, such a laundry list. Well, everybody who knows me knows that I have a personal brand affinity for Subway. And Subway has a pretty good app. I'm a heavy Subway app user. I would be really interested because AppQ's has a mobile app right now.
Yeah.
Not sure, or well, not a mobile app. I'm sorry. AppQ's has a mobile product. And so I would love to get more folks who are working on mobile onboarding on the show to learn more about what they're working on, and some consumer apps would be interesting.
That's true.
So Subway, I'm always looking out for them, seeing what they're doing. If we could ever have somebody from Subway here, would love that. But also, I don't think we've had our friends at Mutiny.
No, we've not. I asked them. They're redesigning their onboarding, so we will get them on as well at some point.
Yes, Mutiny. Oh gosh, Chili Piper.
Oh, Chili Piper. You're right.
That would be a fun one. Yeah. What about you, Rams? Who do you want to have on the show?
Yeah, I think to your train around B2C, any ones that are like mobile gaming app related, I think that would be super interesting, because like there's always been this concept that games do it the best because their target audience are super impatient, usually kids, people who are like has a little bit of impatience. So I think that would be interesting if we can get like Clash of Clans or some other mobile. I don't play a lot of mobile app games, but if somebody can come on to talk about even Minecraft or something really interesting as to how they onboard new gamers to their game particularly well.
Yeah. That would be super interesting, because I agree. I'm always learning from game tutorials, because I am a big gamer. Maybe not mobile always, but yes, I do game a lot.
What games do you play? Maybe you can get somebody from that team on the show.
Well, right now I've been playing a lot of Crusader Kings 3, but I also play, it is a mobile game. I've been playing Diablo Immortal lately. I'm a big Diablo and Blizzard head. Been a Blizzard fan for most of my life. Oh, yeah. I play all kinds. I'm on Steam, playing stuff, fiddling around. Got my PS as well. Red Dead Redemption, Horizon Zero Dawn, Persona 5, all the hits. So,
wow.
Yeah, and it's a really good place to learn about onboarding. I get so many ideas there. So if there are any folks out there that want to get inspired and don't play video games, just try one, because you don't have to play a ton in order to get the onboarding.
That's so true. I didn't know that all of that stuff. I played Red Dead Redemption before, but it's good to know that you are a gamer on its own.
Yes. So any onboarding, gamification, gaming folks that want to come on, that would be really fun. Learn how we can apply that to some of our other stuff. I would also love to hear from other kind of all-in-one tools or multi-product tools, like AWeber has a couple different tools that they're trying to get folks into, just to see how folks deal with that sort of issue and the complicated segmentation for jobs to be done.
That's true.
So yeah, we could go on all day.
Yeah, we could. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate people for tuning in. You can find out more about an experience on any podcast platform you use, but also we're on the site goodux.appkeys.com and just find the experience. Super excited for this year. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.